I download it, hit the dyno. At this point, we start realizing it's not making power at all. Well, I just got off the dyno and I moved the brake line and it started leaking, so perfect opportunity. Can't fix it right now. Use dish. Okay, I'm back from the dyno, but not without any problems. Every time I've been on the dyno, even if it's this truck and has no problems ever, something will break. So, first issue was this wire here that goes to the alternator. Just the end fell off, so I took it off of a parts truck I had out back. Just unbolted it there and shoved another one on. I didn't even have to crimp a wire. Second, you see the brake fluid. Broke a brake line. I bent the line up out of the way so we use axle straps, and that must have just been just enough to break the line. There was just one bad spot there. It snapped there. And then it was just, yeah, it broke there. So I was just going to replace it from here back. But then I was looking at it closely. It went over the pumpkin like that. And it's shitty right there. So I'm just going to replace at the end. No union. So I got a copper line in there. It was simple. I have the Master Cool, the nice brake flaring kit, so confident that that will not be an issue crimping it. And then one of the bleeder screws, I pulled them out just to make sure, so it wasn't going to be a problem later because they did look a little crusty. Driver's side worked fine. This side plugged up solid. So I tried playing with it for a long time, shoving compressed air through it. Brake clean, it is locked up. I tried sticking these things in there, like a torch cleaning kit. It's all different size stuff to try and clear out nozzles. So yeah, that. Then I have to get the brake bleeder, the power brake bleeder, and start bleeding it. But right before I do that, we're going back to the master cylinder. This port is for the rear, that one's for the front. The reservoir sits on an angle, how it's mounted to the firewall. Without re-engineering the entire truck, the compartment runs lower than it should, and it just keeps forcing it to the back. So this level's low, and it's tilted, so it meant to make the back overflow, and the front's never, like, high enough. So there's that slit there. I'm going to drain a little bit of this fluid, and then plastic weld that halfway up, just so I get the level a little bit higher in the front compartment. Okay, I'm working on this again after a failed dyno, which is not really a failed because the truck runs way better than it did. It just didn't make the power I thought it was going to make. So I was pulling the plug wires apart, and when I was changing the plugs before the dyno, I broke a couple wires, like yanking them off of there, and just pulled the crimps out. Like this is a crimp. I pulled it out of the wire. I just cut the boot off of there because I made new plug wires. I just cut them to length. They were 3 feet long. These ones with the sleeves on there were for my goofy manifold setup. Well, first, you can see they're not exactly the same length as each other because I made them. But they work. And I bought this kit probably, sheesh, gonna be 12 years ago. And when I sold my tow truck, the guy lowballed me, so I took all the cool stuff off it, like the carb spacer and the fancy carb and the nice wires and the MSD, all that stuff. Granted, it was probably only like a couple $100 worth of stuff, but he was lowballing me. So the old wires ran underneath the manifold and it was really close, so we think that maybe the wires were burned internally, and this one was super stretched, and when I pulled it apart it broke, and I've replaced that one before, so the wire was always super stretched, so I didn't like that. So I figured the best routing would be to go this way, and I used those fancy little clamps. There's a 3-1 there, another 3, and then a 2, and it's all away from the manifold. This is one of those jobs where I'm not super proud of it, but like, it works. It's not touching over here. The closest is here, which is still a tight 2 fingers, so I could probably put some heat sleeve on there, maybe go on like the DEI's website or something like that. But the truck starts, runs, it's not missing, so it's the first time I've made a plug wires. Hopefully they work and hold up, which they're Holly wires, and yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I was thinking about doing maybe a compression test to see if there's anywhere else I may have lost power there. This head, I don't like it, so I was thinking about maybe throwing heads on it. This one, there's no bolt in the rear manifold, and it leaks right there. But also, in the thread hole is packed full of JB weld because someone tried drilling it on an angle in the truck, the parts truck that the motor came out of, and I don't like that. And it fell apart once with whatever putty they had in there, and then I re-JB welded it and hadn't had a problem since like 2018 or 19. I think 2018, yeah. And it's 2023 now, so it's still working, but the leak got a little bit worse on the, not the coolant leak, but the exhaust leak. So I'm thinking maybe I'll throw some heads on there. I just threw some new oil and filter on it. I haven't did it since the cam went in the dyno, so I figured there's probably some metal floating around or some worn, material. So fresh oil. I'm gonna drive it, see how it's doing, and maybe eventually I'll get it back on the dyno and see what happens. Still at a loss. If you have any ideas what the reason why it's not revving up, dyno curve for the cam, it falls off about 6,500. This fell off about 5,500, and it wasn't making any more power. So we're not sure what was actually causing the problem there. It could be maybe the slightly restricted exhaust. It has 2 passenger side manifolds, which the manifolds I don't think are holding up too much. Everybody I talked to said no, they should be fine. But then it's 2 1/4 pipe, and it drops down and they follow each other and it Ys, and then it's into like 2.5. So I'm thinking maybe I'll just cut it back here and then run 2.5 to a Y and then 3-inch over the axle and cut one of the mufflers out, because there's one long 30-inch resonator and then a Cherry Bomb Extreme muffler. So maybe I'll got a little bit too much restriction there. I'm not sure. I was also on 87 pump fuel, so maybe that had something to do with it, which we don't think so, because we've done stuff like this before. It's been done. You can make some power on 87, but that could maybe be it. I don't really want to run it on 93. It's expensive, and the truck is supposed to be like decently fuel efficient, which it is, and it's a good daily.